PBR Evo's The Bullshit, episode number 2.
You're doing something that's not supposed to be done.
You got to do it day in, day out. Eat, sleep, bull ride.
Today, before I introduce our guest, I just want to talk a little bit about the website itself, pbrevo.com. It's, like we said in the first episode, it's more of a Zillow type situation for bull riders / hybrid Facebook style with the news feed, being able to upload videos to your profile, tell everyone where you're going, how you did, what to expect with your schedule coming up. And then there's also the forums. We're expanding on it every day. You got the forums to talk about certain events. The competition department that we have, we've been using the platform to talk about events that need entries. Just an easy way to notify guys and to keep everybody updated on the game. Can also find tips and more of a learning curve situation, whether you're a existing rider or a new rider. So please check out pbrevo.com. Sign up, make yourself a profile, enter all of your info, and hopefully one of those PBR teams coaches out there will find you, or it just and speeds up the process of them getting a hold of you if you're one of those kind of guys. But back to the podcast. PBR Evo's The Bullshit. I'm your host, Riley Lambert, currently the Vice President of Competition and Judging for the PBR. And to my right, the resume speaks for itself. PBR co-founder, current coach of the world champion Texas Rattlers, and just coincidentally my father, Cody Lambert. So if you want to say hi to
hello
everyone out there.
Hi to everyone out there.
You bet.
First time I've been on a podcast in person.
Do you know what a podcast is?
No, I thought it was something on the radio because I've done them over the phone, but
it can be.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't know they had cameras.
Well, okay. So just getting started on this deal. Last episode we had Justin McBride here. Just gonna continuously have legends of the sport come through, and let's for the people out there listening, you go ahead and take the mic, give a little breakdown of your history coming into the game. We'll really kind of just build a wave of how we can mesh it into the current status of where the game of bull riding's at and the whole rider development initiative.
Well, I started out having grandparents that were around rodeo. My grandfather on my mother's side, he was a timed event guy. He's a rancher in Arizona and also trained racehorses and quite a horseman, really good roper, and he was a rodeo guy, had a rodeo background. He was in the Turtles before the RCA, before the PRCA. He was a member of that, and he was in the Navy in World War II, and then my grandfather on my dad's side was a bronc rider and from Kansas. So I had Arizona and Kansas, and they were both cowboys and were cowboys every day of their lives, and they roped and rode and that sort of thing. My dad was a jockey, but his first love was roping. He loved horses, but he loved roping, or to this day still, would love to be doing that. And he was a big influence on us as competitor. See, because I had an older brother, a younger brother, and a younger sister, and until my little sister came along, my dad didn't let us win at anything we did. He was quite a competitor, and felt like that made us more competitive. I don't know whether it worked or it didn't. It was just that way growing up, and we were around horses and cattle our entire lives, and we were allowed to play every sport, but horses and cattle were available to us. We weren't pushed in any direction to rodeo or to ride or anything like that, but we all found it, all four of us found it at an early age and were really interested in that. And by the time it was available to us, and we got to junior rodeo and do those sort of things, and that's sport of rodeo was more important to me than any other sport. I loved football and I liked basketball and baseball, but I had to have rodeo. It was like breathing to me. It was like oxygen. I had to have it, and I could tell by the time I was really young that I was going to figure out a way to do this. I liked the racetrack and I liked the horses, and we were around that all the time. But the rodeo deal, it was calling my name, and I knew I was going to do that from the very beginning. So I figured out a way. Both my brothers were better at every event than I was growing up, and so I figured out a way by the time I was in high school to get better. I actually picked one event that they didn't do, was the saddle bronc riding, and I loved it, and I still do to this day, and the bull riding, and I put about all of my focus into those two, and just continued to get better, and got to go to college on a scholarship to rodeo, and won a couple national championships on our team, and you know, and an individual championship too, and it was a really good thing to be a part of a team. And so as I traveled all the years rodeoing before the PBR, the team concept was something really cool to me, because we felt like a team. The guys I traveled with felt like a team, and we wanted to win. We wanted us all to win, and we expected us all to win, and we got to experience something that not a lot of even professional rodeo guys got to, when everybody's doing well in the vehicle that you're riding in. And I don't mean doing well in streaks. I'm talking when you showed up, there were 4 or 5 guys that are going to win, and you were those guys. And that was cool to be a part of, and be a part of that feeling. That was part of a team feeling. So when we started the PBR, we were a tight-knit group, and it was that team, and it was that team and a few guys and stuff. And so we felt like a team going out on a ledge and trying to advance the sport in a way that had never been advanced before. We didn't invent bull riding. We knew it was a cool event in the rodeo, and we knew it was the fan favorite event, but we thought we could expose it to more people, and we thought we could improve the competition as a real sport. And so that's what we just did for the PBR.
Was there a specific situation that happened that got you guys together to where y'all wanted to start the PBR? Was it something specific, or was it just a milled around idea that you guys had talked about for a good while, but never had acted on?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things. It was it was the time, and the group of guys was right, and we had come from like what I was talking about, the college rodeo team and the traveling partners that I had, and the team concept of that. And then the Winston Tour, the rodeos, the greatest rodeos that the PRCA has seen were in 1985 and 1986. And they had a draft, and they had teams, and legitimate teams going up against one another. And the PRCA, its membership is thousands of people. It has thousands of members. And if you weren't in the top 18 in each event, you weren't even considered for the draft in this situation. So the membership, PRCA, in lots of ways, is a giant club. But there's 18 guys that are actually there may be a few more that are actually making a living riding. And if you were in the top 18 in 1984, you were eligible for the draft for 1985. And it may have even went to top 20 or something like that. But we had these team events that called the Winston Tour, and it was like the best rodeos every time. It was the best stock and the best guys. And the PRCA membership voted it down really after a while. They were disappointed because they didn't get to go to these elite events. And so when that happened, it went away. It was around for 2 years, 85 and 86, and it went away. And some of us guys that started the PBR were around in 85 and 86, and we knew, we kind of had a blueprint for what we wanted to do. Those were the best rodeos. If we could take the bull riding, just the bull riding, and we can take this small group of guys, because we don't have to please 7,000 members. We take these 20 guys, and we'll try to do this on our own, and we'll offer it to the top 30, but you have to be able to ride to a certain level to even be a part of it. There were starting to be standalone bull riding events. There had been a few of them since I was a kid, but they just were in certain places: Ardmore, Oklahoma, Lubbock, Texas, Del Rio. Just occasionally there were these standalone bull riding events. There were good events, and we all went to them, but then after they were over, it was gone. And we decided that, there could be a league that could do something like that. We made a lot of decisions that didn't work, but we tried a lot of stuff that did work, and the PBR is where it is today. That's where it got started. But back to your question, was there one specific thing? It wasn't one, but just like for that particular year, 1992, when we started the PBR, the Bull Riders Only was going on, and we were going to those events. And like the first year, we were going to sanction them and stuff, but we didn't want Bull Riders Only to own the sport. We wanted to own the sport ourselves with this group of guys starting, and we wanted to expand the sport to the point where guys actually made a good, comfortable living doing what they did, because bull riders' careers were the shortest ones in rodeo, and it is the most dangerous sport, and we all understood that. And it was also the last event at the rodeo, because they want the crowd to be excited when they leave, because they want them to come back, and they want the crowd to stay for the entire rodeo. So they put the fans' favorite event at the very end of the rodeo. That's what we knew we had, and we thought we could present it as a professional sport in a better manner than it had been presented before. So we took off with it, and it worked.
So, and I'm obviously I was around for the entirety of it, and it's like family business for us. But whenever you guys started milling around the idea of doing it, was it at the same time, was it a quality control scenario as well? Like, did you guys want to weed out the possibility of, I mean, in all reality, being quite frank, of like amateurs being able to participate?
we weren't as concerned about who got in and who didn't like that as we were the quality control, back to what you're saying, of the stock, the rules, the format, the money, all of that. And we didn't have our own bull ridings. PBR didn't produce our own events or promote our own events. We said there's a bull riding in Scottsdale, Arizona. We tell the guy, his name's Alan, that's putting it on, and we say, Alan, if you'll go by these rules and you'll bring this stock and you'll bring this much money, we guarantee you that we will all be there. We were a tight-knit group like that. And so we could sanction their events because we would guarantee who was going to be there. And then they could sell their event knowing that all these world champions and all these NFR riders and stuff at that time were going to do it. And that's how, and that was at that time, if you made the NFR, that was, you were one of the best 15 in the world on the biggest stage in rodeo and bull riding. It's still that way in rodeo 100% until you get to the bull riding.
Right.
And
it seems like, and we talked a lot about it before this podcast started, and then we live on the same ranch, so we see each other on a daily, and it's a constant conversation piece. But it's looking back at the history, and Justin touched on it in episode 1, that was the golden era of bull riding to Justin. That's the way he explained it. That's the way being someone that's not a bull rider, that's been on the fence for the entirety of my life, it sure seemed that way. And then what we've talked about a lot is from a statistical standpoint, it looks that way. And I know that the conversation happens on a regular about the stock and how PBR has elevated that stock level to an unreal. It's unbelievable the amount of good bulls that are out there, but just it seemed like the bulls that you guys had to get on a regular were there wasn't a Cliff Notes section for these bulls or a video gallery that you guys could study. That wasn't available. So you guys seemed like you guys had to rely on your ability and talent and effort level to a point where nothing was predetermined. And it being from a rider development initiative, it seems like if we could almost turn that dial back a little bit, the guys would start riding a little better because they wouldn't go in with a predetermined plan of what they were going to do other than I'm going to ride this bull.
Every sport's advanced, but what you're saying is right, except you just left out the most important part of it, and that's fundamentals. The fundamentals. If you don't know where the middle is, if you don't know where a balanced position is, how do you find it? How do you know what you're fighting for? And that's where the videos and all the stuff that today's guys, I don't even know what they all are or what you call them. But looking up videos and stuff like that is where they skip the muscle memory and the practice, and they're looking at stuff. They're looking at things that aren't real. When you're riding a bull, the only thing that's real is you being in the middle and back into the position that you need to be in to ride that bull. Everything he does is to get you out of that position. Everything you do is to get back in that position, to be balanced. All you're doing is it's the greatest sport to me because it's the simplest sport there possibly could be. He either got out from under you or you stayed on him. It's not some scientific tricky thing. It's, you know where the balanced position is and you get back there. And if you made it, if you got it done, you did it right. So all of these moves and stuff that guys are selling and talking about and sure, there's stuff you can do to learn to be more balanced and to get better at sports. And every sport has advanced, but every sport has suffered from guys not having to be, I hate to call it students of the game, but for guys having to put out a little more effort. Like if I wanted to know about Jim Shoulders when I was a kid or Larry Mahan, I had to read. I had to go read to find out about them. I had to research where can I read something. Well, that's probably the only reason I learned how to read was because I got to read about some cowboys. If I would get off my ass and go figure out how to find out where I could read about these guys. And so now all you got to do is pick up your phone and be able to almost spell it where it'll even spell it for you, and it'll pull it up, but it doesn't necessarily pull up the stuff that you need to learn. It just pulls up the highlights.
Right. Yeah, it's a highlight culture. I'm from the I know where you're from. You know where I'm from. I'm from the basketball world, and when the basketball world's evolved in the same exact situation, and it's now my son's 11 years old. You know that too, but they don't. And we go to a lot of travel basketball tournaments, a ton, and some of the biggest ones in the country. And everyone has a highlight reel now. Everyone. And when I was in high school, the only way you had a highlight reel was if you were that guy. Like if you were in the McDonald's All-American game, you got a highlight reel. I mean, you might have something local on the local news that was cool, but if you wanted to know, like the guys that had highlight reels were those.
Well, they were, but
freaks.
But I remember, Riley, when you're being recruited for college, when you were playing high school ball and you're being recruited, the great coaches didn't want to see a highlight reel.
No.
They wanted to see a game that you lost. They wanted to see a game that you won. They wanted to watch the game that you were down in. They wanted to watch the game when you were up against a good opponent, and how you reacted to somebody that might be as fast as you were. You find somebody that's as fast as you were and taller than you were. How do you react to that? That's stuff they want. That's stuff that a coach wants to see. And then so doing what I'm doing today as a coach, that's what I want to see too. I see, and my assistant coach, Cade Swore, will pull up videos of a guy we're talking about. He'll pull up videos. Well, it's videos that kid posted of himself. I want to see the one that he got bucked off of, and I want to see the one that he almost rode, and I want to see the one that challenged him a little. I want to see the one that went away from his hand. I don't want to see just a highlight reel.
Right.
And I want his career to be a highlight reel. And that, if you understand the fundamentals and you understand what you're fighting for and you understand what's real, then you have a chance to make it. The guys that you were talking about, some of the guys that we started the PBR with, and you're talking about like the golden era of bull riding. There's been great bull riders since before we were born, before those guys were born. And I got to say that some of those guys, their careers were highlight reels. That's what I want to pass on as a coach, and as the PBR, that's what we thought of. We thought, well, we're gonna expose these fans and stuff to this new way of presenting an old sport, but a better way of presenting it, not changing it, not tearing it apart, not wrecking it, presenting it in its best way to fans to see that it's a real sport it's maybe the most real sport there ever has been, and how difficult it is. But we're going to present it to them at the highest level. We're not going to overhype it. We're not going to try to pretend that it's something that it's not. We're going to show them what it is, and let them choose whether they love it or not.
When you bring up real, it makes me think, just to take it down a different rabbit hole, but talking about statistics earlier and being real, and the kids, and tying it all into a rider development scenario at the same time. The kids, whether or not they're a part of the PBR right now, because there's a lot of young men that are riding bulls at the highest level right now, and statistically, you look at it like a guy like Casio Diaz, for example. You know, I got his stats right in front of me. For the season, he's riding 54% of his bulls. And then we talk golden era, and obviously, like, the stories stick out to me, but when I talk, I always bring up Jim, because the statistics that you hear about Jim are to the age that's going right now, they're unbelievable. Like not like holy cow unbelievable. No, like they don't comprehend those statistics.
When I tell these young guys, I tell them I've seen guys ride 50 in a row and buck off one bull and ride another 50 in a row, and I'm talking about Jim and Tough and Lane. I'm talking about those guys. I've seen that. And that is what I try to explain. I have seen this. You haven't seen it, but it is possible. This is actually possible. They're at a time when they can pull up any highlight reel there is of a guy that looks like he rides every single bull there is, and then you look up his riding percentage and it's 35% or less. And so I'm not saying that there's not better bulls today. The bulls, like, I hope that people realize that the PBR is responsible for the bulls being so great. That's something that we did. We worked on quality control. We specifically said these were the bulls that can come. We didn't say we need 50 bulls at this event. We said we need these 50 bulls at this event, and if you don't bring that one, we don't need you. We'll get somebody else that'll bring us the specific bulls that we want.
And were you bringing bulls that fit so that you had a better result, or were you were you making sure that they were the absolute best at all time? I mean, it's a
now this was my job for 27 years or something. This was when we started the PBR. It was my job, but I didn't get paid. I was one of the riders. I'd get the bulls, but then after I retired from riding, that was my full-time job, is getting the bulls. Well, what I looked at was what the potential score was if they rode them. So I just made it as simple as I make the bull riding. The bull riding, I try to break it down where you rode him or you didn't. Well, I brought the bulls as you won or you didn't. So I had to assume they're going to ride every bull, and if they're not going to get a high enough score that they can win on a particular bull, we don't want him. And then if one of them's way more dangerous, he's got some kind of thing where he'll jerk you down or something. He's way more dangerous than all the rest of them. That bull will be there unless you can't win it on him.
That's what I was about to say.
And that's what I explained to the guys. Now, I don't want one I'm not trying to get a bull that'll knock somebody's face off. I'm not trying to find that. But if that potential is there with a bull and you ride him, you better win first on him. And so I just always did it that way.
And just because I've heard you tell guys this before too, on the bulls like that, whether they're the extremely ranked bull or the extremely dangerous bull that's still extremely ranked that you can win on, if you are fundamentally correct, those bulls are, and you do everything right, you're still, those bulls aren't unrideable.
No, none of them are unrideable. That's
That-
that's just ridiculous. But some of them don't leave any room for error.
Right.
And you've got to do everything right. But that's your job. That's your craft. And everybody should be wanting that kind of challenge, because bull riding at the end of the day is done for the love of the game, like no other sport that I know. Because it is too dangerous. The money is never enough for what you're putting yourself into. It's a dangerous, dangerous thing. And you've got to understand that you can die, and you've got to be willing to die. You've got to be willing. You've got to love it that much. And so that should be the challenge that you want, because the feeling that you get of accomplishment when you ride a bull that nobody's ridden before, or very few guys have ridden before, or that lots of guys are afraid of, when you can do that, when you know you've done something that very few people in the world could ever do, or nobody in the world has ever done before, that feeling is pretty big, and it's an accomplishment that means something to you. And the amount of your check does not, the amount of the check that you won, or whatever the amount of money you won, doesn't even come close to the feeling that you got when you did it. And you've got to love it, and you've got to love it, and you've got to accept that challenge, and you've got to want that challenge.
Right.
And those guys that rarely got bucked off, they loved that challenge more than they did anything else.
It seems like with the PBR, you guys developed an avenue for those guys to get that challenge, to where when you're getting on a better bull on a regular basis, you guys were facilitating the possibility of getting that feeling on a more regular basis. And then it's just it comes with the game that whenever you accomplish something at that top level, that there's a compensation deal involved with it. That's why I know that guys do it for the love of the game, and they should, especially a game as dangerous as bull riding. But just to transition a little bit into the money talk, the money on my end from a recruitment standpoint and guys starting careers, because we always want to have more bull riders, because we want more people to love it, and we want guys to want to get great at it, and we want guys to be able to go to our events, because like from a competition department standpoint, I'm trying to find, and the people that work with me, we're trying to find the best opportunity for bull riders at all times. And the PBR has so many opportunities right now, and we're having a hard time finding enough guys to accept the challenge for these opportunities. But it seems like there's enough bull riders out there to do it. So from a rider development standpoint, we want these guys that own a bull rope, that are going to our velocity events, or that are going to rodeos or amateur rodeos or whatever, and they have some sort of a leg up on the game from knowing what to expect a little bit. We want them to learn how to be elite level guys, and that part of this podcast is to talk to you guys so that they can get interested in and understand the approach that you legends had, or these young guys that are killing it in the game, or world champs, current world champs. And I just want, like, the money is unbelievable right now. And we bringing up Casio Diaz earlier. He's won 436,000 plus in a 23 event season we just concluded in Louisville, and he's won over, that's, if you do the math, he got paid almost 20,000 an event.
And going into the World Finals, he's got a chance at another 8 $800,000 before the $1 million bonus, so he could easily have over $2 million year in the PBR, not counting what he did in teams last year. Don't forget about what he did in teams coming in.
That's not associated with that number.
The 11 weeks before the season started, in 11 weeks, he racked in quite a bit of money as well. And there's no doubt, and it's no secret that the PBR has more money. You ride for a bigger purse. You ride for more money. You ride for a lot more of a bonus. You ride on a bigger stage than anywhere else. And the only thing that holds a lot of guys back is it's harder than anywhere else. And it's supposed to be harder than anywhere else. The PBR was designed that way, to be the highest level there is of bull riding. To be, if you got the highest level of athlete and then you match him up against another athlete, say you were boxing, but if you brought in an amateur boxer to box against this heavyweight contender, well, it wouldn't be a good match. But if you brought in a guy that was his equal or maybe even better, and then they fight, then you're going to have a different story. And that's what the PBR is about. It's about great bull rider matching up against a great bull. And it's not a show. It is great entertainment, but it's not choreographed to the point that we know who's going to win and the bull lets him ride him. We don't want that. That's not what we're after. We're after a true sport in every sense of the word, and PBR brings that. It brings the money. The money you can't even compare. Like
it's uncomparable.
You look at Casio, number one guy in the PBR today. And the season started in late November. The season started in late November, and he's got $430-something thousand. The number, that's the PBR. That's Casio Diaz. You look at the number one guy, Creek Young, in the PRCA. I don't think the standings are updated today because I think he's got about 110,000 won, but it says he's got 100,000 on the PRCA website today. It's not even close, and it's not even comparable, and it's not supposed to be. I'm not bashing rodeo. I love rodeo. I came from it. I mean, that's where we all came from when we started the PBR. But we can present bull riding in a better manner and at a higher level. And riding in the PBR means you're riding on the biggest stage for the most money against the best competitors, whether they're the bulls or the riders that you're riding against. And that's what it's designed for. The PBR isn't for everybody because it's too hard for a lot of those bull riders. A lot of bull riders in other leagues and in other places have tried the PBR. I guarantee you they all know about the PBR, and they would like to be there, but some guys, they don't ride to that level. PBR was designed for the elite bull riders, and we were designing it to expose it to more fans, and that's what we do. And so I like the recruitment of bull riders. That's a fine line for me, like that, because I'm not
your team's coach.
I'm not going to ask a guy to come into the PBR because look how much money Casio's won. Sure, you're not ever going to win any of it because the bulls are too tough for you. So I'm not telling guys that they should go try the PBR when they're not capable. But if you're capable and you think you're up for the challenge, that's the place to go find out. And if you won't do that, then you're never going to know.
Well, and that just kind of opens the door for me because from a weekly standpoint, it seems like the Velocity Tour and the Tour and Pro Division and the Challenger Series, these are all phenomenal opportunities for guys to use as a one as a breeding ground to become elite, or a place we're giving people opportunities on a weekly basis to go make money that it can almost be a career for you. And if it's of that level, then chances are you're going to get a shot at the elite if that's what you want to do. But what do you think the difference is between like the decision for, say, a middle tier guy to choose, like when they're making a decision between rodeo and the velocity tour, which you can actually do both because it sometimes it can work for your schedule that way, but like making a decision from a contestant standpoint, what do you think is the reason why some guys that rodeo choose to rodeo strictly and not go to any of the PBR Velocity Tour, Tour and Pro events or try to get on tour versus choosing Velocity Tour and that instead of rodeo?
Well, there is the NFR, and the NFR, it's something that most bull riders want to ride there. Most rodeo contestants want to be there, and the NFR is huge, and that is one rodeo a year. There's a lot of good rodeos, but that is one thing that would pull a guy in a certain direction if he was capable of qualifying for. I talked to a guy a couple days ago that said he rode bulls to feed his family, and he had a wife and kids and things like that. And if you have the confidence and the desire and the drive to make the choice to go win the kind of money that Cassio's winning, if you make that choice, then I think you're making the choice to shoot for the stars. If that sounds a little too hard, then there's another choice there. And so there's all different levels of riding. And I can't speak for any of those guys of why they make the decision they do. I just know that I was one of those guys that rode for a living and fed my family, and was also one of those guys that built the PBR. And we did it thinking of the future of the sport, of guys that would be able to make great livings for their families, like Justin McBride or Chris Shivers or Adriano or so many that have come along since then. I've lived my dream through them, seeing those guys be able to win enough as bull riders that they didn't have to, the day they retired, find another job just to get by that month or that year.
Well, not to just get completely off track, and we've talked money, and we've talked schedules and Velocity Tour, Tour and Pro, rodeo, UTB, Sarah, but we haven't really dove into teams. And I know, again, because I'm with you on a regular, how much teams has meant to you, and how much it means to you, and how good of a thing it is for the sport. And I, on someone on the sideline, I can see how good of a deal it is for us. And it's, that's what has really brought up this whole rider development initiative, is the teams, because we needed a starting line, and you guys have created it, whether you knew it or not. But give us a little breakdown about how you feel teams is affecting the sport and where the sport can go because of it.
Well, a few years ago, Sean Gleason mentioned something about starting a league of teams with the PBR, and he just was joking around with me. He said, "So you better be ready to be a coach." And I thought about it, and I thought about, man, I hope that happens in my lifetime, because that's something that I was always liked doing was helping try to develop riders and pass on what I have seen to these guys that have not seen what I have seen. And so I've watched the sport since I was a little kid, and then I watched every bit of it as a contestant or as the guy that was getting the bulls or as the guy that was teaching the judging seminar or the guy that's judging or running the front of the chutes. I was there for all of it. I've been there for the last 50-something years for all of it. And so I've gotten to be a part of that. So then when Sean was talking about that, I was really hoping it would happen sooner. And then the talk really got serious about it. And I had actually, the first team that bought in was my team, the Rattlers. It was the first team that bought a franchise, and John Fisher, my owner, and Mark George, who was the GM the first year, and he's part of the ownership group. Mark interviewed me for the coaching job, and COVID hit, and so we were planning on it maybe launching a year earlier than it did, and I'd interviewed for the coaching job of the first team, and actually kind of had a verbal agreement to take the job, and I was just excited about the opportunity to try to work with guys, and then it just came even better than it ever was. I was thinking about it because I was thinking about how I'd be as a coach, because I had a few bull riders that stayed here and had success, and I'd had everybody I traveled with wound up being a world champion in my day. So I felt like I had the ability to not screw them up and to help guys with their confidence and things like that. And so there were lots of things that went into it. But when we were doing a promotion for the PBR, and we had Chad Johnson, the football player, Ocho Cinco riding a bull. Ocho Cinco was going to ride a real PBR bull, and so I got a bull pick that would give him a taste of what it really was, but it wasn't a bull that was so mean that was going to just hurt him, but he's damn sure a real PBR bull, and he wasn't going to ride him. I mean, he wasn't going to ride him with a couple of days of practice and a couple of days of research on bull riding. So anyway, we were talking. I was talking to him, and he said at that time he was a free agent. He was between teams, and he was wanting to play for Bill Belichick. And he said that Bill Belichick takes guys that were working at the grocery store last year and wins Super Bowls. And that inspired me at that time. I didn't even realize it, but it inspired me as a coach, because I thought of that 100 times since then, that I want to take guys and make them better bull riders. I want to take guys that don't even know that they can be professionals and take them and let them ride at the highest level. And year one, we were disappointed. We wound up third, and year two, we got the championship, and it was really fun for me. And then so I look up to certain coaches, and I read things that they might have said, or I watch a video like what we're talking about. I'll pull up a YouTube video the best I can of a coach saying something, and I always go back to Lou Holtz, because Lou Holtz talks about the opportunities that are in front of us, the opportunities that God gives us, but he also gives us the ability to make a choice. And so that's what I talk to my team about on a daily basis, on opportunities and choices. And there are the opportunities in front of us, but we've got to make the choice. And then you can simplify that, or you can make it however you want, but it comes down to that on bull riding. Every bull you get on is a huge opportunity. This is an opportunity, but you've got to make a choice to not give up. You've got to make a choice to be so tough and so determined that you don't let him get away. And so we talk about that, and I talk about, and I heard Lou Holtz say one time on that when he took the job at Notre Dame, the athletic director, the director of athletics hired him, but God gave him the authority to coach the team. And so I look at it like that way, that John Fisher and Ariat, they hired me, and the Rattlers hired me, but God gave me the authority and the ability to coach the team. And so it feels like it's so much bigger than me, and I can just go on for days about situations like that. Just like hiring my assistant coach, I was looking at guys that were in between my age and the bull rider's age. I didn't want a young bull rider to be assistant coach, but I didn't want a guy my age that can't relate to him. So I was looking for, I'm 62 years old. Most of these kids are in their 20s. So we had one 18 years old last year. And so I've got to have somebody that can convey my message to them, but understand where I'm coming from at the same time. So it was just simple. I was wanting somebody in between, my age and theirs. And Riley, you know this, that you mentioned Cade swore to me, and we were looking at a lot of guys in a lot of different directions. Had a Navy SEAL, had some really good people, and Cade's a cowboy, and he's a calf roper, never been a bull rider, but loves the sport, and he's an athlete and a tough cowboy. And we go back. Cade and I had an experience where I met him. He had rodeoed, and he went to the NFR his first 3 years that he was out on the trail rodeoing, made the NFR. And then he didn't go back for 7 years. And then that's when we met on that 7th year. And I was going to get him to help me train on my horse a little bit, and then invite him over here to practice with us. And you were roping calves then, and I was having a great time roping calves at 50-something years old, and had Cade come over to practice with us, and was going to get him to help me with my horse. And I watched him practice, and he's just amazing how he roped, and a great horseman and everything. And I could not figure out how he could have been out on the rodeo trail and missed the NFR the last 7 years. And so we get to talking, and I could just see myself in him. He was his commitment to the sport, everything. He worked hard. He was doing everything the right way, 100%, except being focused on focused on winning, focused on competing. And so we did a lot of practicing here and talking and working on his mental game. And I'm not taking credit for Cade's success after that, but he made the next 4 NFRs and finished out his career as one of the greats there. And once again, I'm not trying to take credit for this, but I'm saying I didn't screw him up. I got him in a better place mentally, I feel like, where he could compete better. And we enjoyed each other's company, and we loved it. But anyway, you told me Cade would be a good coach for me. Well, I'm talking to Justin McBride, and I said, Riley says Cade would be a good assistant coach for me. And Justin said, man, that's the best idea ever. He thought that was really good. And I hadn't talked to Cade in a couple months, and Cade had a wife and a young son, and I was in Tractor Supply in Bowie getting dog food. I would go to walk in, and that all this happened in one day. like in 24 hours. And Cade and Sarah and Knox were walking out. And I hadn't talked to him in a couple of months. And I just told him about it right then. And I'm thinking that this is bigger than me. This is just meant to be like that. And Cade was interested. And then he's been the assistant coach, and he's helped me so much. And he's learned bull riding to a level. He's learned bull riding to a level that you can talk to him like you're talking to one of the other coaches that were legendary bull riders. He understands it. He understands what we're trying to do, and he loves the message that we're giving the guys, that there's opportunities and choices all day long.
Just we're getting near the end.
Oh,
while we're
just getting started.
Yeah, no kidding. While we're on teams, before the bullshit wrap up, any advice for the guy out there that's not a part of a team, or the kid that's 16, 17 coming up, that's got the talent level that we know is going to be there in some sort of capacity, or the guy that, like, is there anything specific for the game that they should know beyond, just the stay on your bulls?
Well, stay on your bulls is that is so much the most important, and that's the only thing that matters. That's the only thing you got to think about. Now, don't get caught up in these guys that are trying to sell you some magical bag of goods, because it's just about the bull's trying to get out from under you. You're trying to stay on him. So everything you do, you might make a certain move. You might lean a certain way. You might push. You might pull. You might lift. Doesn't matter if you get him rode. If you get him rode, you did it right. But when you get leaning off to the side a little bit, there's not just some specific move that you make like that. Just get back in the middle. If you pull yourself back up there, great. If you swing your arm and get back up there, great. But when you get to that spot, you got to know where it is. You got to know what's real. And the middle is real. The middle and balanced is real. And so that's what bull riding is. Bull riding is real. You either got him rode or you didn't. And you don't have to know everything in the world. Take what you know and make it work.
Well, as we sign this episode off, first I want to say thank you for coming on. It wasn't hard for you to travel from your house the 150 yards over here, but I sure appreciate it. One thing that I feel you opened the door for me on, and I was on Flint Rasmussen's podcast the other day, and I mentioned it on there, but the teams, I have a respect for the teams beyond anyone else's respect level, because God was always he was always present in our house growing up. Definitely not at the level that he could have been, because no one's ever gonna have enough of him. But the teams has, from the ranch's aspect, our life, teams has brought God into our life even more, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm very proud of you.
Well, thanks. That's
not,
hard.
Not to make
that's
it emotional.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a good thing, and that was my intentions all along, whether I knew it or not.
You bet. So everyone out there, please check. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hope to see you on the next one, and we're gonna keep bringing these legends and these guys through here just to shed some light on some different areas for you guys, and hopefully get you guys to more interested in the game and staying on more bulls. Riley Lambert signing off. Enjoy.